How many people are like getting back into yoga after a long time and like want a refresher? And how many are like, okay, this is totally new for me? Sweet. Good. Okay. Each beginner foundations class that we're gonna do today is focusing a little bit mostly on alignment and understanding placement of our bodies on our mats, more of like sort of a body awareness and introduction of moving through sun salutations. So nothing big and scary. Mostly the most important thing for me today is having everybody understand and comprehend that props are your friends. There's no fear behind all of these contraptions that you have around you. So we'll get into that as well today, but I welcome all of you here. It's very exciting to see everybody on their mats. I'm Darcy. I opened up Blue in May and I've been studying yoga for a long time. I think I'm hitting close to 20 years of practicing yoga and I've been teaching for 13. So it's an honor to do this with all of you. It's my jam, it's my joy. So it's always awesome to introduce people to something that I love so deeply. So this class is all about learning. So if you have a question or you're not totally sure, ask. Because most likely if you have a question, somebody else has a question too. They are just not sure they want to ask. So I invite you to just shout it out. I also do offer hands-on adjustments. So as I teach, I typically walk around and I will offer hands-on adjustments to help you kind of place your body, help your body ease into a position. If you don't feel like being touched, that's a-okay too. You can just let me know. There is a really lovely awareness for our bodies when we're kind of guided into a position. We retain that information a little bit more. So it's really nice to have that connection. So I will sometimes be walking around offering a little bit of that assistance as well. For those of you who are totally new to this process, welcome. You're gonna love it. The practice that I studied for years was based off of something called Ashtanga and Iyengar yoga. And both of those practices were more of a strength building long hold practice. So it falls underneath that. Hatha yoga is typically what people hear is that you practice Hatha yoga. Well, Hatha is all of it. And underneath Hatha falls all these different categories like Bikram, Iyengar, Kundalini. So all these kind of funky names that we all hear all fall under different teachers and different lineages and different styles of yoga. Iyengar is more of a long strengthening, very anatomy oriented yoga. So I love props and I love the anatomy of the body. So I describe a lot when I get you guys into your poses. So understanding the body and understanding where you're going and what you're doing and how you get there is really important. But if something is confusing to you, opening up the hip, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand. Feel free to ask. I'm happy to help. So props around you. You obviously have your yoga mat. You obviously have 2 blocks. You have a 8 or a 10-foot strap. You have a blanket and you have a bolster. We are going to use all of them. But the most important pieces that are takeaways for you guys at home, in my opinion, are the blocks and the strap. Those are the pieces that I use the most often, and we'll use a lot in our practice in understanding placement and not putting too much weight on the body. And we'll learn about that a little bit more today. Within our practices, we're always going to start with about 3 minutes or so of a guided meditation breathing exercise. And then we're going to move into an asana practice, and we always end in Savasana. And Savasana is corpse pose. So that's like lying flat on your back, closing your eyes, and taking in all the glory of being done with your practice. Okay. So today I invite you, if you have socks on, I'm going to ask you to take your socks off. I know it's cold and it's winter. But socks and yoga mats are meant to be sticky. Your feet are meant to ground into the stickiness of the mat. And so if we're wearing socks, we slip and our feet actually can't ground down accurately and safely onto our mat. So we'll take our socks off. You can always put them on for Savasana. But we're gonna start with our hands in our laps today. And from here, you can either stay seated on your mat if you feel like you need a lift. And what that means is if you feel like your knees are kind of up towards your chest, place a block or a bolster underneath your sit bones. So you get a little bit of a lift. A lot of people tell me they sit and then they're like, my legs fall asleep and it's really uncomfortable. And the reason why that happens is because we're pinching into the hip joint here and it starts to tingle. So the more you lift your pelvis up, the more your legs have the ability to drop. You won't get that tingling sensation. And as we start our practice today, I invite you to close your eyes and just place one hand on top of the other at your lap. Okay, we'll just close the eyes. And as we close our eyes, we're just finding the natural rhythm of our breath, our inhale and our exhale. And in this breathing pattern, we inhale through the nose. And we're going to softly exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. We're just settling into this pattern breathing. And I invite you to settle into the weight of the sit bones connecting with your mat. Feel the weight of the legs as they settle down and soften. Even noticing the weight of the feet, sides of the feet connecting with your mat tonight. Just quietly settling in. And in this moment, you might be making a grocery list or thinking about your day. And I invite you in this space to imagine those thoughts that pop up here and there. Just imagine what it would be like if you placed those thoughts on a cloud and that cloud just floated away. So as you just focus into this inhale and this exhale, and those thoughts start to arise, invite them onto that little cloud. Allow it to just float, giving it permission, acknowledging its existence, giving it permission to float away. Just finding that pattern of breath. From here, invite you to place both your hands, one on top of the other at your heart center. Drawing our chin down towards our heart, bowing our heads ever so slightly. Tonight, inviting an intention for yourself. Maybe it's just patience, sense of humor, adventure, whatever it may be. Place that intention sweetly at your heart tonight as we start this practice. One more inhale deeply in through the nose, all the way down low into the belly. And then you're going to exhale out through the mouth. And then we're going to invite the eyes open. And if you're sitting on a blanket or a block, you can move it off to the side. And I'm going to invite everybody to come up to standing. So at the top of our mat, we're going to start in what we refer to as mountain pose. So our feet are always hip distance apart. We're going to take a quick second here to assess the bottoms of our feet. We don't pay attention to our feet enough. So I want you all to imagine you have a triangle on the base of your foot. So the ball mound of your big toe, the ball mound of your pinky toe, and the center of your heel. There are roots that root down into the earth. And we're gonna lift our toes up. And I want you to wiggle out all your toes. See if you can create some space in between all those toes. And spread them down onto your mat. So we have this really beautiful triangle foundation on the base of the foot. Toes are spread wide, okay? And I want you to imagine that there's like these little tiny, little humans, little toothpicks, what I'm gonna say, are the inner arches of your feet. And I want you to engage those inner arches up. And as you feel that engagement of that inner arch coming up, you're gonna kind of feel it up into the inside of the knee, okay? And this is the midline of the body. I'm gonna refer to this a lot in yoga. So it's like inner arch, inner ankle, inner knee, pelvis, belly button, heart center, throat, front of the head. So all of them go up through the midline. So when you stand in mountain pose and you open your palms towards the front of the room, you're gonna grow really tall through the crown of your head. Imagining your spine is long. This is mountain pose. And we're gonna bite the arms up. Bring them out towards the sides. Palms facing one another. And as you reach, here's a common placement of our body. You ready? I'm gonna turn to the side so you guys can see. Our ears connect with our shoulders. And we just kind of reach, our belly bends forward, right? So the midline that I just referred to doesn't exist. The fingers are kind of like, yep, I'm reaching, I'm here, okay? So as you find that triangle on the base of your feet, and you engage up through the inner arches of your feet, and you imagine that midline through the center of your pelvis, you tuck those lower ribs, even tucking the tailbone a little bit, feel that line, that midline becoming straighter, and the shoulder blades work down. That's a hard thing to feel if our shoulders are really tight, our neck is really tight. Bend your elbows, okay? And then you have the capacity to kind of move the shoulders a little bit. Okay, and then from here to exhale, palms away from you, press down to the earth. Good. All right, so slightly gaze, a couple feet in front of you. Inhale, draw it up, and as you inhale up, gaze up towards the sky. And then press the hands away, exhale, back down. Inhale up. And exhale down. Really paying attention to the midline, paying attention to the base of the feet. Inhale up. And exhale down. Couple more. Good. So from here, from that top, we're gonna just connect with our rib cage a little bit too. So now we've noted our shoulders are gonna stay away from our ears. Okay, we're really working on lengthening through the elbows. But now we have this like rib cage that kind of seems to have a mind of its own, right? So in this position, I want you to imagine somebody has a needle and a thread. And you have this upper rib cage here. And you have the top of your bony ASIS point here. And I want you to imagine that someone is threading a needle through the base of your ribs into your hip. And as it threads that needle, it pulls these 2 points closer together. It's sewing that core together. So you may notice as your arms reach up towards the sky, you don't have that like bowing that happens, right? We knit those ribs to those hip bones. Okay, and then from here, bring the hands together at the top of the head, and you're bringing them through to heart center. To drop the shoulder blades down. And in this space, we close our eyes. I want you to bring you back to the base of your feet. Find that triangle. Lift that inner arch and feel the midline all the way up from the inner ankle, the inner knee, the pelvis, center of the heart, throat, front of the head. And so from here, as we open the eyes, we're gonna bring ourselves into moving through the starting points of that sun salutation. So feet are always a distance apart. From heart center, I want you to reach the arms back up. Again, going through that knitting of the ribs. Okay, and I want you today, depending on how tight you are, bend your knees just ever so slightly as you kind of stick the booty back and forward fold. Okay, and release the head to the floor. So the knees are bent softly as we're in this forward fold. And I want you to imagine the whole belly melting over top of the thighs and the whole head and neck releasing. So you can shake yes or no, kind of do some head circles and disengage the constriction in the back of the neck. Okay. This is also a place where I invite people to have their blocks handy and you place your hands directly underneath your block. Okay. The more you bend your knees, the safer it is on your hamstrings. So I'm going to show you a forward fold that's really common. Arms go up. And people go like this. Okay. So everything is in your lower back. Your legs are straight. Your knees are locked. Okay. So when we work in our forward fold, we're working towards sticking the butt out slightly, bending the knees, and coming down and folding and releasing. Always protecting the lower back. Rest the belly to the thighs and rest the hands to the block if that's what you need. Okay. And then you're going to press into the blocks or into your mat. And you're going to inhale to lengthen the spine halfway up. And in this position, imagine that same thread you were using to thread your ribs and your hips. You're threading your belly button towards your back spine. Chin is slightly tucked. Soft bend in the knees as you forward fold. Good. Press into your feet. And then we're going to inhale to rise. Coming all the way up to standing. Hands together. Come down. Hands to the heart. Okay. Little mini half sun salutation. We're going to do that one more time. Press into the feet, ground down, inhale, arms all the way up. Good, bend the knees. We're going to forward fold. Release the hands to your block or to the floor and release the head and neck. Shake it out if you need to. Inhale yourself halfway up. So we're going to start to straighten the legs here. Belly button towards back spine, chin is tucked. Crown of the head towards the front of the room. Toes are spread. And then bend into the knees, forward fold again. Beautiful. Root into those feet and then inhale to rise. Bring yourself all the way up. Reach. Make sure those shoulder blades stay tucked, ribs stay tucked. That midline is beautiful. And then exhale, hands through to heart center. Close the eyes. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to introduce the downward dog into this process. So we're going to inhale your arms up. Exhale, hands through to heart center. Draw those sit bones back, bend the knees, place the hands to the block. Now, I want you to keep your hands under the blocks, just underneath your shoulders. You'll need to widen them a little bit. Now, step back. And we're going to come into our first downward dog today with our blocks. Okay, so the palms of the hands are pressing down into that block. And we're going to start with bent knees. Most of us have very tight hamstrings. So we are going to lift our heels as high as we can. And we're going to bend our knees. Beautiful. So as you bend your knees, those lower ribs might make contact with the thighs here, and your sit bones have the ability to reach up towards the sky. And the reason why I have you guys on the blocks is we're taking the stress off of our shoulders. Now, from this heels up position, I want you to take one heel at a time and drop one heel down to straighten out the legs. But I want you to listen to your hamstrings, because maybe your hamstrings aren't interested in that today. You may need to keep your knees bent, okay? Good. And as we work into discovering what this downward dog feels like, I want you just to walk your feet slightly closer to your blocks. You're sort of in a short downward dog. Your heels can touch the floor. And it sort of feels like you're not getting much, right? Like it feels sort of anticlimactic, let's say, okay? So you can kind of start to bring awareness into when you know where your downward dog feels the best. Now I want you to walk your feet far away from you. All right, so now your heels are up off the ground and you feel really unstable, right? So it's hard to get your sit bones up. You feel kind of long and you feel tippy and you have a lot of pressure in your shoulders. So just walk the foot slightly forward, about 1 foot length forward. All of a sudden you're like, oh, there's the jam. I got it. Feels good. Okay. Come back onto your balls of your feet. Lift your heels really high and bend your knees. Stick that booty straight up into the air. Now drop one heel at a time. Press the thigh bones back towards the back of the room. Good. Beautiful. And then from here, simply walk the toes to meet the hands in between those blocks. Come into your forward fold. Bend your knees softly. Look at your toes, spread them out. Remind the base of your foot of that beautiful little triangle that you're connecting to, and then press into the feet and inhale, come all the way up. Arms tall. And exhale, hands through, hearts up there. Beautiful, we're gonna go a little bit further. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, slight bend in the knees, stick the booty out, and then press the hands to that block, forward fold. Beautiful. Spread the toes, press into the feet. Inhale, halfway up, long spine. Really draw that belly button up. Tuck the chin so the back neck is long. Okay, and we're gonna exhale, forward fold. This time, walk your feet back. And let's bring ourselves into downward dog. Finding that placement with our feet. Your feet should be at least hip distance wide, maybe even wider, okay? We're gonna press back here. I want you to release your head through your arms. Shake it out. Maybe even give yourself a big yawn. Releasing the tension in the face. Good. Now, from here, simply move your hands down to the blocks. So you're gonna move your blocks out of the way and place your hands right on the mat. Okay, and just simply walk your feet slightly back. We're gonna come into a plank or a modified plank. So if you have back issues or you feel like you're struggling with core, release the knees. Okay, keep the toes tucked, and you're simply gonna release your whole belly to the floor. Okay. I'm gonna go this way so you can see here. Okay, so we're gonna come down into Cobra. And when you come into Cobra, the hands are always at the ribs, right next to you. And this is what's gonna happen. Everything's gonna dump forward. So you're gonna give a good roll of your shoulders. Pretend that you're standing upright and you're rolling your shoulders back down your back body. Elbows are straight up towards the sky. Now, press into the palms of your hands, and I want you to lift your head, keep your nose pointing to the floor. Okay, we're not going super high here. We're just engaging, opening the shoulders and looking straight down at the mat. Now, I want you to imagine pressing the tops of your thighs down into the mat and the tops of your toes into the mat. And then exhale, release it down. Forehead to the floor. Okay. Big roll of the shoulders. Drop them down to the back body. Press into the hands. Lift a little higher. This time I want you to gaze towards the front of your mat, maybe a little bit towards the front of the room. Okay. Pull the collarbones open and then exhale, release it down. Forehead to the floor. Just one more. So big roll of the shoulders, even squeezing them towards one another. Press into the palms of those hands. Maybe it feels good to go just where we were before. Maybe a little bit more. Being cautious, finding our breath. Good. And then exhale, forward head to the floor. Okay. Now, you're going to press into the hands and push yourself onto hands and knees. Okay. Easy access here to downward dog. Okay. So that's when we would curl our toes, walk your hands forward, lift the sit bones, and you're finding your access into downward dog. Again, onto the balls of the feet, lifting the heels high and bending the knees. Okay, so we're always kind of saving the hamstrings, saving the lower back. Okay, dropping the heels down. Gazing towards the front of your mat, walk your toes to meet your hands. Forward fold. Soft bend in the knees. Okay, drop the head. Shake it out. And we're going to inhale. Halfway up, long spine. Exhale back down. Okay. And you're going to step back into downward dog. Good. So from here, we're going to invite the knees down to the floor. And we're going to work into cat-cow here. Hands are underneath shoulders. And what I want you to envision in this, that can be very deceiving, your wrists, your elbows, and your shoulders always align, okay? So this is how you would know you're too short, right? If your wrists are pushed back and your arms are launching forward. We always want wrists, elbows, shoulders, okay? And then you have your knees and your hips. So from here, we're working through what's called cat-cow. Cat is that classic sort of scooping, right? So that belly button's going to scoop, head's going to drop, okay? And I want you to really draw the belly button up towards the sky. Shake out the head. And I want you to imagine here space being created in between your shoulder blades. We're going to feel it a little bit more because we're going to come onto our tippy fingers. And as you come onto your tippy fingers, I want you to press those fingertips down into your mat as you scoop. Belly button up towards the sky. Good. Now, squish those hands back down to your mat and drop your belly towards the floor. Okay, so now you're getting a little mini back arch. Chest opens towards the front of the room and you pull your shoulder blades away from you, gazing forward. Okay, so we're getting length and opening through the front body here, and then we're going to scoop again. So scoop the belly, coming into cat, coming onto the tips of the fingers, lengthening through the arms and separating out those shoulder blades. Pressing down into the mat, and then squish the hands down. Palms pressing down into the earth, dropping the belly. Gazing forward, pull the heart open. And then we're going to come to neutral here. So walk your hands slightly forward, take your knees wide. We're going to come into child's pose. So when you come into child's pose, you want your belly to be able to release to the floor. So thighs wide, toes together, okay? So for some of us, it could be really tight to bend all the way down like this. You can always use a bolster underneath your belly or a block underneath your belly if you need assistance. Okay, but the idea is like the softening of the belly all the way through. Beautiful. If your forehead connects with your mat, I want you to roll your forehead. Okay, so we're gonna roll it left and right, from one temporal to the other, okay? So this simple practice of being in child's pose and rolling out your forehead helps your parasympathetic state come down. So this is a beautiful thing to do right before bed, hitting all of these little tiny acupoints at the forehead. Okay. And from here, we'll bring that center of the forehead to rest on your block. Take a deep inhalation here, big all the way down into the belly. Good. And you're gonna press your hands into the mat, lift the sit bones up, start to curl your toes. And as you press into the hands, lift up, coming in the downward dog. About 5 breaths here in downward dog. We're just gonna kind of deconstruct this very common yoga pose. And we're gonna start at the hands. So I want you to sort of gaze forward at your fingertips. And I want you to make sure that your 2 thumbs are sort of pointing at one another. Your ring finger, your middle finger is pointing straight ahead. And as we work up the arm, I want you to have your inner elbows pointing towards one another. Okay, and the shoulder blades pressing down through the back body as you release the head. Take 2 more breaths here. And then bring your knees down. Go wide, come into child's pose. We're gonna do that one more time, okay? Two breaths here. Take a big inhale all the way down into the lower belly. Good, and exhale. Press the hands into the mat. Start to lift your sit bones up. Curl your toes. Downward dog. Beautifully done. Okay. Come onto the balls of the feet. Lift the heels high. Bend the knees. Get those sit bones up towards the sky. Beautiful. And release the heels down. Press the thigh bones back towards the back of the room. Good. Now everybody's like, get me out of downward dog. I don't want to be in this anymore. So we're gonna lift our right leg really high. Lift, lift, lift. Lengthen it. Now I want you to bend your right knee, curve your spine, and you're gonna bring your knee towards your nose. And however you can get it there, right foot in between the hands. Notice how I said that. However you want to get it there. Okay. So now we're coming into that high lunge position. And we're going to talk foot placement for a second. Your front foot is at the center front of your mat. So when you look down at your big toe, it's directly underneath your nose. Okay. Now look back at your back foot. Okay. We're going to keep this heel up today, but it's to the outside edge of the foot. So you're not in alignment with your feet here. You're wide. In fact, you could wiggle that back foot open a little bit. Now you're going to press into the ball mound of that back foot. Like as if you're pressing your heel into a cement wall. So this leg is activated. And then you're pressing down into this front foot and you lift up. Okay. Now, I'm going to have you see the alignment of my body right now is not accurate. I'm exaggerating. We're going to bend this back leg for a second. And you're going to tuck your tailbone. So this bend of the knee helps you kind of access preventing this from taking place. So we're knitting our ribs together. So same thing we did at the start of class. So as you knit, straighten. Stay firmly planted into that front foot. And when you're ready, goal post. Okay. Maybe that's far enough. Or maybe you move into warrior. Okay, so you're just feeling it out today. We're exploring. Beautiful. Now we're just gonna pinwheel the hands down to the mat. And you're gonna step your right foot back and come into downward dog. Walk your legs a little bit. And we're gonna lift the left. Really lengthening that leg, and then you're going to bend the left knee, scoop the belly button up towards the sky. So you're getting a curve in your spine. And then get that left foot forward. Look down at your feet. Okay, so this left foot is now center front. Back foot, slightly wide. It's a good thing. It's going to prevent you from tipping over. Okay, press the back heel as if you're pressing it into the wall. So that whole back leg is strong as you press both feet into the earth. You're going to come up. Maybe the hands rest here. Now, if you feel super tippy, even just stepping your foot forward slightly gives you more balance. Root down into that front heel. When you're ready, come up into goal post. Okay. Knit your ribs. So we're going to bend the back knee. They're knitting together. Tailbone is slightly tucking, and we're keeping that strength of the core, and then we're pressing back. Makes it harder. Maybe you move to warrior. Okay, activating that back leg. Shoulders drop. Ribs stay knitting down towards those hips, and we release the hands. Step it back. Downward dog. Maybe child pose. Maybe your body's like, I'm tired. Okay, so pay attention to what it needs today. It's going to evolve over the next 4 weeks. So be kind and soft with your breath, with your body. Okay. Release the head and neck, soften the jaw, soften the throat. All right, in this downward dog, I want everybody to look at their hands again. So if you're in child's pose, bring yourself up. In downward dog, are your palms planted down into your mat? Or are they curling up? Okay. So again, we're checking the placement of the hands. Thumbs pointing towards one another. Middle finger towards the front of the room. And I want you to imagine you have a 5-pound brick on the top of your hand, pressing the base of your thumb into the mat. Lengthen the arms and press back. Beautiful. Nicely done. Lift your right leg up. One more variation of this standing pose. We're going to bring the right foot forward, however you want to get it there. Beautiful. Look at your alignment of your feet. We're going to vary just a little bit. Front foot is center. Now your back foot, your heel's going to drop. And this front heel will align with your back heel. Okay, so as we move through our yoga practice and we get more balance, you can narrow that stance. So it's heel to arch. But today we're working with stability. Okay, So right heel aligns with back heel. And we're gonna bend into our right knee. And we're gonna come up, and I want you to place your forearm to your thigh. So in variation here as well, what I want you to imagine is the triangle on the base of your front foot, pressing down into the earth. Take a look at your back leg. Press into the outer edge of that back leg. Lift the inner arch. And imagine someone's pulling open that thigh. And you're really rooting into the outer edge of that foot. So you have strength in the bottom half of the body right now. And you can stay here, or maybe take that left arm overhead. Other arm.
Yeah.
You got it. You're good. I'm gonna rotate you slightly. Yep. Good. There you go. Beautiful. From here, rotate down, back heel comes up, hands to the mat. Step it back, downward dog. You guys are doing great. One more side. Lift the left leg. Extend it long. Curve the spine, belly button towards back body, bring it through. Okay. Back heel's gonna drop. Here's your opportunity to check your alignment. Front heel aligned with back heel. And you can slowly work up so that your left forearm comes to your thigh. Okay. Examining those feet. So this left knee stays over top of that ankle. We're rooting down into the triangle of that front foot. We look to that back leg and we roll to the outer edge. And we roll open the back thigh. Very intentional, strong base here. And we're taking our right arm. And you can reach it towards the front of the room or up towards the sky. Okay, so if your shoulder's tight, don't force it. You can reach. Okay. One more breath. Exhale, rolling the belly towards the mat, hands to the mat. Step it back, downward dog. Good. So from here, you're gonna bring your knees down to your mat. You're gonna have all this gratitude because you're gonna bring yourself through to a seated position and know that you don't have to do any more downward dogs today. Okay, but we are gonna grab our blanket. Your blanket should be folded in half, just like this. What I invite you to do is fold it one more time. Okay, so you have this nice clean fold here is gonna go right underneath your sit bone. So I'll turn this way so you can see. We don't want the blanket underneath our thighs. We want it so that our sit bones are on the very edge. And again, what this is doing is it's creating length and space in the back body. This is like the most common way, right? We're not engaged here. We're tucking our tailbone forward and we're kind of just like dumping into this space, right? So if we engage a blanket, we have the ability to identify the tips of our sit bones a little bit better. And we take our hands next to our body and we press and lift. You have access to find those points, okay? And we're gonna bend our knees. Because again, our hamstrings are usually cranky. So we're giving them a little bit of love today. We're not pressing too hard. We're gonna take our arms up, okay? So from here, we have the ability to reach And we're gonna come forward, and we're gonna come forward enough that your ribs touch the thighs, and that's as far as you're gonna go. Okay, but you're pressing your heels down into the mat. And you're spreading your toes out. And we're just gazing right at our knees. So for some of us, if we have the mobility and it feels okay, softly bring those legs down. Okay, so you can explore today and then bring the hands to the shins. Notice this isn't my forward fold, okay? We're lengthening through the side body. We're growing tall through the spine. We're not necessarily working to curve and touch our feet. They're really just our feet. They're not that exciting, right? So we're lengthening and we're spreading the collarbones and we're bringing the heart forward, pressing out through the heels. It's a safer forward fold. We're keeping our back happy, okay? So then from here, we're going to inhale up and we're going to invite the right foot to fold underneath the left. I'm going to face you. So right knee is bent. Left foot is tucked under. Did I just switch that on you? I did. That was mean. Sorry. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is you're still sitting on the edge of your blanket, but I want you to take your hands and I want you to press and lift so that you can sort of get to the weight of that right foot and settle yourself back down. The reason why I'm doing that is that we have the tendency to do the same thing here, where we're like, yeah, I'm twisting, but we're sitting on the base of our sit bones. We want to sit really tall and we want to take our block behind us. Okay, so we're going to hug today with our left arm. So this right foot roots down and our left arm hooks. And then we're like, our belly's in the way. My belly's in the way. So we're going to lean back and we're going to twist, press our right hand into the block. Okay, so lean back, give it space, then come in and give it a deeper hook. Okay, your right sit bone will come up off of the mat. Okay, so we're not like rooted all the way down onto our right side here. We're pressing into the right foot. We're lengthening the spine. So when you work into twists, you always inhale on your lengthen, meaning you inhale and you grow really tall. You twist on your exhale. Okay, so as you exhale, you have the ability to get the breath out and twist. Trying to inhale on a twist is pretty much impossible. You can try, but you can squish your organs better if you exhale. Okay, so we're going to twist and lengthen. Grow tall. Okay. And I invite you to look towards the side wall. I'm not a proponent of tweaking the neck to look behind you. Okay, we're keeping the forehead, the nose, the chin, and the sternum are all in alignment. So that's your twist. That's as far as the head will go. One more inhale. And as you exhale, unwind. And you'll switch sides. Okay. So we're going to press into this left foot. Maybe take the hands, lift slightly as you root into that left foot and settle back down. Okay. Take the hook of the right arm. Left hand goes to the block behind you. Lean it back so that you can really rotate the belly. Give a deeper hook when you're ready. Inhale, really lengthen that spine, grow tall. And as you exhale, notice maybe the twist can deepen, okay? Gazing towards the other side. Keeping the nose, the chin, and the sternum all in alignment. So we're not tweaking and reaching. Okay, we're softening the right shoulder. And then we're gonna exhale to unwind. Beautiful. And from here, we're gonna come onto our backs. So you will need a block right next to you. And as you lie back, if you want to watch me first and then lie down, that's an option too. So knees are bent. When we come onto our back, your feet should be about shoulder width apart. What I typically invite people to do is lay their arms down and have your heels, the back of your heels, connect with your longest finger. Okay? Spread out your toes. And you may even scoot yourself up a little bit so that you can take a look at your feet, making sure that your feet are parallel to the sides of your mat. Now, from here, I'm going to invite you to softly start to lift your sacrum up off the mat. It might not be very much, okay? As you lift the sacrum up, you're going to lift the balls of your feet up, and you can take your block, maybe start on the lowest, flattest side, and you're going to rest your sacrum on that block. Okay. Making sure that the block hits that lower back. You can feel that big flat bone. Okay. And what I want you to do is imagine somebody has a string that's pulling your heart up towards the sky, and you can really tuck your shoulders. Maybe your fingertips will make contact with your heels. Maybe they interlace underneath you. Okay. Now, if you feel like I might be able to go a little bit higher on my block, you can come back onto the balls of your feet, lift your heels, and maybe rotate the block to another height. Okay, so you can just explore that. And then just make sure that you release the heels back down. And you can either grab the sides of your mat or maybe interlace your hands underneath you, depending on the openness in our shoulders. Really tuck. Keep tucking those shoulders down underneath you. Heart opening towards the sky. Good. Lift the heart. Close the eyes. About 3 solid breaths here. And as you come to your last exhale here, I want you to come onto the balls of your feet, lift the pelvis up and slide that block out. And then lower the sit bones right back down to the earth. Good. Now, somewhere close by, you have your bolster. It rolled away from you. You're gonna place that bolster underneath your knees. Okay. Maybe place the blanket underneath the base of your head, but make sure it's not folded too much. Okay, I would unfold it one so that it's more like this size underneath your head. Okay. Release your legs all the way down so that your back of your thighs, back of your knees release into that bolster. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. And in this space, as we enter into Savasana here, the whole body comes into this resting pose. The feet fall open. The legs become very heavy. You can feel the weight of the back of your thighs settling down into the bolster. Maybe you notice the rhythm of your breath. Maybe it has a little bit more ease than it did at the start of practice. Shoulder blades soften down the back body. Back of the skull melts like silly putty. And the throat is soft. And the jaw is released. Even the tongue drops to the lower palate of the mouth. Eyelids are heavy. I just find immense gratitude to be in this space. And from here, I invite you to bring a little bit of movement into your toes, into your fingers, into your feet and your hands, your legs and your arms. Take your arms long overhead, reach them behind you. One super duper long stretch here from the tips of your fingers all the way down to the tips of your toes. Bring your knees towards your heart. Give one good self hug here as you rock your spine a little bit. And you're going to roll onto your right side. As you roll onto your right side, take a moment here. A moment to find your breath. Awaken your body slowly as you sweetly place your left hand to the earth and roll the body all the way up to a seated position. Slow and steady. I invite you as we end our practice, a Jayi Mudra at the heart. So our hands come together. The tips of our thumbs connect with our heart center as we bow our head. As we give honor and grace in your practice today, allowing the light to shine brightly within you and out into the rest of the world today. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to smidge over. It's going to be really hard for me to do 45 minutes. I'm going to try. But we will do our best today.